again, let's start. There was some technical glitch, so we'll start again. So, good morning. My name is Lalit Soni and I welcome you all in this live session by Drishti IAS. In today's paper, we'll be discussing few important articles that is related to your One Nation, One Election report, which has been submitted by the high level committee panel. Okay, and then who paid the parties. Okay, in the front page of the newspaper today, there was this article that is who paid the parties. This article is basically related to your electoral bond scheme, which has been held unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has directed SBI to give all the data to the ECI, and ECI will make sure that that data will be published in the public domain. Now ECI, Election Commission of India, has made this data public, and there are certain things which we'll be talking about. Okay, then Paytm to be a TPAP, that is a third party application provider or third party service provider. So you know that Paytm Paytm Payment Bank was actually held back, and they were constrained from using their or going for the banking activities. So in that regard, Paytm has applied for the third party application provider so that their UPI applications can be continued. Okay, so we'll be talking about that. Afterwards, we'll be talking about one or two news from the around the world, and there will be this article, or you can say news article, which is related to the appointment of the election commissioners. Okay, so we'll be talking about that as well. Okay, so this is the front page of your newspaper. Here you can see that there were two articles, who paid the parties, and then second is related to One Nation, One Election. So we'll be talking about that. So let's start. We'll start with the practice question. So let's see. Which organization typically releases the multidimensional poverty index MPI report in India? Yesterday we have talked about this article wherein we have discussed few you can say promises which has been made by the Congress if they are elected to power. Okay, these promises were related to some kind of benefit which is to be given by the political party, or you can say by the government, to some section of the society, that is poor section of the society. And for that, when we are talking about the poverty, there are certain indicators. One of them is multidimensional poverty index. Okay, so when we are talking about this MPI report in India, it is published by Niti Aayog. So option C would be your right answer. Okay. Now we can move further. So let's start with the first article of the day, that is related to your One Nation, One Election. I must have told you earlier. I hope everything is clear, sound and audio. Okay. So One Nation, One Election report, curtail terms of assemblies sync with Lok Sabha polls, Kovind panel says. Okay. So basically there was this panel which was constituted by the government, which is saying which has to decide on the issue of One Nation, One Election. Okay, so One Nation, One Election, what is that, and what is the concept of One Nation, One Election, why we are talking about it now? We have all these things we have discussed in our previous lectures, and if you are a serious student, a serious aspirant, you know that what is this particular concept is, because this has been in the discourse for a while now. Okay, so I would suggest that you make 250 words of notes, or you can say make an answer ready for it, because there are high chances they will ask about it or anything surrounding it. Okay, so government has constituted this high level committee under the chairmanship of former president Mr. Ram Nath Kovind, and they have submitted their report. The members of the this committee was diverse. They were from various stakeholders, you can say that, various political parties they have considered. They have also put this issue in the public domain for the their opinion. And this report says that nearly 81% of the people or the public opinion is in the favor of One Nation, One Election, or the, you can say that, simultaneous elections. Okay. Now the issue is how to do that. How would you go for simultaneous elections when all the different state assemblies are nearly have different timelines? Okay. Earlier when we are talking about in India, when there was first election, that was 1951-52, and then 57, 62 and 67, all these elections were simultaneous, you can say. But afterwards, because of various reasons, be it your president's rule, be it no confidence motion in the assembly, be it any kind of direction which has been given by the center and state could not comply with that, and because of which there was this state emergency, etc., which has been imposed over there. for various reasons, these assembly timelines has been changed because there was no confidence motion, president's rule, because of which these assemblies has been suspended. Okay, and reason behind that was in 1960s we have seen a rise of regional aspirations, we have seen a rise of regional parties over there. Okay, and because of which these election timeline has gone under a change. Okay, after that in 1983-84 again this topic came and this issue came that we should go for the simultaneous elections because there is a huge resources which is going waste because of the elections again and again. Second thing is the potential of the leaders has not been utilized because they are always in the mood of elections, they are always campaigning for the elections, so governance issues takes a back seat. So that is why various scholars has said that you should go for the simultaneous elections so that government can get a time of nearly 4 to 5 years to perform on a certain indicators of the governance. Okay, that is why now this discourse has been in the, you can say, news, and recently this report came and we will be talking about the recommendation of this report. Okay, now this report says that there will be a model of this implementation where all the assemblies which are having different timeline, they will be synced with the Lok Sabha elections. Okay, here you can say the term of the state assemblies elected after the first sitting of newly elected Lok Sabha be curtailed till the election next year. So let's say, let's take an example of 2024 elections. Okay, so after 2024 elections, let's say Lok Sabha meets for the first time on 10th of June. Okay, and on that first sitting, president will appoint a date, president will tell you a date. Okay, on which sorry, okay, so Lok Sabha is actually set for the first time on 10th of June, and then next elections are due in 10th June 2029. Okay, meanwhile if there is an state which is going for an election, let's say in 2027, in 2028, any state which is going for the elections, so they have served only 1 year and 2 years of their term, but the thing is from now onwards, okay, from 10th of June their time, or you can say their term, will be suspended over there, and on 10th of June or before that there will be new election for the new Lok Sabha, and with that there will be state assembly elections as well. Okay, so the thing is on 10th of June when the Lok Sabha will sit for the first time after the new elections, the president will say that now onwards we will go for the simultaneous elections. So these 5-year terms will complete on 10th of June, and at that point of time all the state assemblies will complete their term, and in the next year these all state assemblies and Lok Sabha elections will be synchronized. Okay, so that is what their plan is, that is what their model is. So basically if you want to implement this model, so you have to announce it in the next Lok Sabha, so that by next elections you can implement this model. Okay, so let's say in after the elections of 2024, first time when the Lok Sabha sits, president will announce that we will go for the from a presidential order, or you can say president will appoint a date, and we will they will say that now onwards we will go for the simultaneous elections. So for the 2029 elections there will be simultaneous elections. All the states which have not served their full term, their term will come to an end over there and new elections will be done. Okay, now this is the one part. Second thing was this particular report is saying that let's say we have gone for the elections in 2029. Okay, and in 2029 we have gone for the Lok Sabha as well as the state assembly elections. Okay, but after 2 years, let's say in Rajasthan, okay, there was a no confidence motion, and the government over, the state government over got suspended, and government has to resign after the no confidence motion. What will happen now? Because now again timeline will change. So the panel suggests that now onwards, whenever the new government will be appointed, that will be appointed for the remaining period. Okay, for the remaining period, let's say they have served the 2 years of time, the first government of Rajasthan. Okay, so they have served the 2 years of time, and then after 2 years there was a no confidence motion, so the next government will serve only for the 3 years and not for the whole term of 5 years. Okay, so that is the process now. So these are the recommendations which has been made by this particular panel, and now if government accept these recommendations, that will be the model which will continue afterwards. Okay, so now what next? here. In this case of government falls in the center or any state, the election should be held only for the remaining period of time, which we have discussed only. Okay. Now, government will bring in the constitutional amendments. Obviously, when you are going for such changes wherein you will be suspending the term of a state assembly, so that is why you need a constitutional amendment. Let's say you know that Article 72. Article 72 talks about the term of Lok Sabha, and then when we are talking about Article 73 and Article 182. These article talks about the terms of Lok Sabha and state assemblies. I would like you to check this because obviously I have read that in a while. So now Article 73 and Article 182, that would be there. There will be a constitutional amendment to these. Okay. Other than that, also there will be some constitutional amendments to other aspects as well. Then the president on the date of the first sitting of the Lok Sabha will issue a notification regarding that. Okay. They will say that now onwards we will be going for the simultaneous elections. Then tenure of the state assembly will last only till the end of the ongoing Lok Sabha term, that is 2024. If 2024 continues and at the end of the 2024, all the state assemblies tenure will also end. Okay. After that, Lok Sabha and state assembly elections will be held simultaneously. Local polls will be held within 100 days. So basically there is they have said that these elections will be done in two phases. Okay. First elections will be of Lok Sabha and your state assemblies. That will be a phase 1. Okay. And within 100 days, you have to go for the local bodies. Okay. When we are talking about these 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, that is related to your self governance. So local bodies, that is municipalities or you can say panchayat, etc., they will have their elections within 100 days of these Lok Sabha elections. Okay. So I hope that is clear. Okay. Now they have suggested that amendments to host of the provision to empower the Election Commission of India to create a common electoral roll for the Lok Sabha, state assemblies and local bodies, holding local body elections within 100 days of the general elections and tying the entire one election exercise to appointed date notified by the president, which we have discussed over here. Okay. Now, what are the changes they have talked about here? We will be discussing in the further slides. Okay. Now there is a question of ratification. When we are talking about the Constitutional Amendment Acts, we are talking about the Constitutional Amendment under Article 368. Okay. So basically there are different types. When we are talking about constitutional amendment, there is a simple majority based amendment, there is a special majority based amendment, and when we are talking about the federal structure, there is a ratification which is required by the state governments. Okay. 50% of the states has to support that particular amendment. Okay. So now in that particular question wherein we are talking about the simultaneous elections which will affect the fate of the state assemblies. So should state assembly have to ratify that particular amendment? So the panel has said that there are two type of amendments here, where first we are talking about the simultaneous election. In that case you don't have any state don't have any authority over here, and they we don't need any ratification from the state. Second thing is related to your electoral rolls, because when we are talking about the you can say elections, okay, state elections are done by the the local body elections are done by the state election commissioner, that is you can say that panchayat and municipality elections are done by the state election commission. Other than that also there are certain rules and regulations which are provided in the Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951, and other rules and orders are there. Okay. So as per that there are certain things like preparing of electoral rolls, etc. For that there is a requirement of ratification. Okay. So these are two type of amendments they have talked about here. Okay. Now third thing is there was this paper co-authored by the N.K. Singh and Prachi Mishra, which we have talked about. So this particular paper was quoted here to say that simultaneous elections will be in favor of economic growth as well, because they are saying that it will help economy grow by nearly 1.5% of the GDP growth. Okay. So these all things which we have already discussed. Okay. Now coming to the specifics of it, here you can see simultaneous election proposals, election to Lok Sabha and State Assembly to be held simultaneously, that is there. Local body elections will be synchronized within the 100 days. Once these elections are done, then within 100 days we will go for the local body elections. Then proposes 15 amendments to the Constitution of India. So basically these 15 amendments will be there so that these simultaneous elections can be done. Okay. Constitutional amendment bills, first bill focus on the transition to the simultaneous polls. So when we are talking about the transition, they have to make sure there will be a provision in the constitution for that. Okay, regarding that they will have to amend certain article that is related to your election commission or be it the power of president over there. Okay, other than that they have to change the terms of the terms of the Lok Sabha as well as the state assemblies. Okay, so first bill will focus on that. Okay, second bill addresses the municipal councils, municipal and panchayat elections. Okay, and then that is single electoral roll creation. So when we are talking about this first bill, there won't be any kind of ratification won't be necessary by the states. And when we are talking about this particular provision that is related to your electoral rolls or the elections of municipality and the panchayats, then you would require ratification, because obviously this is the prerogative of state. Okay. So these are the two types of bill they have discussed. And then third is transition to simultaneous polls. So article 82A will be introduced, that is a new article which will be introduced. Okay, proposes to establish the process of simultaneous elections. Okay, so they are talking about this particular provision here. They will enter one more article, that is 82A. So now this becomes important. If these reports get accepted, which there are high chances, so this article 82A will be important for you, that mandate simultaneous elections with the provision for the deferred state assemblies. Okay, so basically here they are talking about the changing the terms. Okay, so when we are talking about these terms, there is a full term, that is that 5 years. So now they will actually define these terms, that is full term and the remaining term in the constitution, so that there won't be any kind of confusion. Okay, so for that matter they will be changing or amending the article 83 and article 172. Okay, fine. Now resolution of Lok Sabha and state assemblies, define full term and expired terms. So as I told you, sorry, unexpired term, full term and the unexpired term, or you can say remaining term, they will actually add these terms into article 83 and they will define it over there. Okay. Now coming to the next part. So these are basically the provisions which they have talked about. These are basically the report which has been provided by the high level committee. One thing, we will go for the simultaneous election. Second thing is how to do it. We will go for the curtailing the terms of the state assembly by the next general elections, or you can say Lok Sabha elections. We will go for the Lok Sabha and state elections in Lok Sabha and state assembly elections first, and then in the second phase within 100 days we will go for the panchayat and the municipality elections. Okay. We have to make certain amendments to the constitution, we have to make certain amendments to the Representation of the People Act 1950 and 1951. Okay, and there will be some changes in the rules and orders which are existing. When we are talking about the ratification in that regard, which we will be discussing in the next article. Okay, so these are certain provisions which we have already talked about, and these are the recommendations of the high level panel which is constituted for the simultaneous election talk. Okay. Now the second article is related to ratification by states, what it will take to make panel view legally trends. Okay, so basically here they are talking about should state ratify it or not. Hold on. Or in better terms we can say that do we have to go for the go to states for the ratification or not. Okay, so now there are certain things which we will be talking about. There are certain areas where state ratification is important. Okay, so there is this article, that is article 328. Okay, so let's see what article 320 is talking about. Power of legislature of state to make provision with respect to the elections to the such legislation. Okay, subject to the provision of the constitution, and in so far as provision in that behalf is not made by the parliament. Okay, so basically if it is given in the constitution, or if there is no such provision made by the parliament. Okay, so you can say that basically they are talking about the residuary powers. Okay, now the legislature of state may from time to time by law make provision with respect to the all matters relating to or in connection with the election to the house, either house of the legislation of the state, including the preparation of the electoral rolls and all other matter necessary for the securing due constitution of the house or the houses. So basically here they are talking about whenever there is a issue or any kind of law which is related to the state assemblies or any house, let's say be it state assemblies or councils, okay. So if there is any matter related to that, state can make a provision if there is no provision provided in the constitution or parliament has not made anything about it, okay. If there is a exclusive provision which has been made by the constitution and constitution says that it is a prerogative of parliament, then in that regard state do not have any power, okay. So here they said that if there is something which is related to your houses of the state, then state can make a, you can say, law. Other than that, if there is related to preparation, anything related in the relations of preparation of the electoral roll, then also state has the power, okay. So basically in the last recommendation we have seen that there is also, we are talking about electoral roll preparation for the, or you can say a single electoral roll for the elections, okay. In that regard ratification of state is required, okay. Now coming to the article, a total of 15 constitutional amendments will be there. There are, you can say, different, you can say there are nearly 12 new provisions which we are adding, and there will be change in the 3 existing provisions, okay. So as I told you, existing provision, that is article 83, article 172, okay. So these provisions will be changed. Now the framework for simultaneous polls could be kicked off as early as June this year with the president's issue of notification, which we have talked about, and that would be declared as an appointed date, okay. The date of the first sitting of the House of the People after general election. Look, for the constitutional amendment that would sync assembly elections with the Lok Sabha election, Kovin panel has recommended that ratification by state is not necessary. For the simultaneous elections, this recommendation is not necessary, or the ratification is not necessary, and for the preparation of the electoral roll, this ratification is required, okay. So these two things are talked about here. When we are talking about article 368, as I told you, there are 3 ways in which constitution can be amended, that is simple majority, and when we are talking about the ordinary registration, there is simple majority, and then there is this special majority, okay. So for specific provisions which has been given in the constitution, we require this special majority, and then when we are talking about the anything which is related to the federal structure of the constitution, there are 5 to 6 provisions which are given. So in that regard we can say that state ratification is also required, okay. When we are talking about state ratification, basically we are saying that 50% of the state should be in favor of that particular provision, okay. So these are the article 368. So this becomes important for you, article 368, okay, and then article 328, okay, which we have already discussed. If we go for the textual reading of the report, okay, textual reading says that for the simultaneous elections we do not require any ratification, but if in spirit, if you think you are going to curtail the term of an state assembly, so basically it will have an impact over there. When we are talking about simultaneous elections, so the interest of the state will get impacted, because with the simultaneous elections, the issues when we are talking about, if just think about it, if there are Lok Sabha elections and then state assembly election at the same time, what kind of issues we will discuss more? Obviously we will be discussing the issues of national importance, international importance, which are important for the central government, okay, because that is how you will ensure that you form a government at the center, okay. When we are talking about the state related issues at that point of time, since elections are at the same time, there will be a wave of national interest, national issues, so there are high chances that the interest of the state will get undermined, okay, and that is why obviously it is affecting the federal structure, but still the report is saying that we do not require any ratification, okay. So in letter, if we see, we, okay, fine, it is okay that there is no provision saying that if you want to change the election process you have to go for the you can say ratification by the states. But if you see in the spirit, it is ultimately affecting the federal structure, that is why it is necessary. This article we have already discussed, and then Constitution of India, Representation of People Act 1950, Representation of People Act 1951, and the rules and order, these all things are need to be changes, so that there are certain amendments, certain changes which we will be seeing in the future. And when we are talking about this thing, Article 368 clause 2, so basically they are saying that this particular process of simultaneous elections is not under the purview of Article 368 clause 2, that is ratification. So ratification is not required. Okay. When we are talking about few important cases related to federalism, or you can say this particular Kyoto Holohan case. Okay, so you must have heard about it in your static portion also. This was covered. Kyoto Holohan case. The Supreme Court struck down a part of law dealing with disqualification of lawmakers on the ground that it was not ratified by the state. The issue of disqualification under Schedule 10 is basically somehow affecting the federal structure, and that is why there was no ratification, and Supreme Court has held that this particular you can say law, part of the law which was dealing with the disqualification, was unconstitutional. Okay. Other than that, also the Constitutional Act, this 52nd Constitution Amendment Act, which sought to bar jurisdiction of the court in any matter connected with the disqualification process. Okay. So they are talking about the power of Supreme Court or High Court over here. Okay. So in that case, they are saying that there is no power when it is coming to disqualification. Such power is not with the High Court or Supreme Court to hear the matter, or you can say the judicial review power with respect to the process of disqualification is not with the courts. Okay. So court has struck down this particular Constitution Amendment Act as well, because this particular provision related to power of courts is basically that we have integrated judiciary, and this changing the power of courts will impact the federal structure, and that is why they have struck it down. So in the past they have struck down such things which are against the federal structure, such laws which are against the federal structure. So let's see whether it was also it can also be challenged or not. That is another thing. When we are talking about the provision which require ratification by the states, these are the provision: elections of the president, Supreme Court and High Courts and their power, representation of the states in the parliament, distribution of legislative powers between union and the states, and extent of executive power of the union and state, and amending Article 368. If you want to amend the Article 368 itself, then also you need ratification by the states. Okay. So these are certain provisions which you should remember. Okay. Now moving to the another article that is related to who paid the parties. So I told you that this is related to your electoral bonds, and Supreme Court has said that these electoral bond scheme was unconstitutional, and they have guided SBI to furnish all the data related to it to ECI, Election Commission of India, and Election Commission of India will, after scrutiny, they will make it public. Okay. So they have made it public, and there are certain things which has come forward which we will be talking about now. Okay. Election Commission put out bond buyers and party redemptions. So basically who has actually purchased this electoral bond? So that is bond buyers, and then party redemptions, who has encashed it. Okay. So these two things are in public domain. Other than that, when we are talking about the unique bond number, or you can say a unique bond identity, which will tell you that which bond goes to which party, that has not been released. Okay. Now moving further, petitioner lawyer Prashant Bhushan says that he will ask Supreme Court to match the list. Okay. So there are certain you can say a mismatch in the list. Okay. So that is another issue that is political, we will not go into it. Most firms in areas that need center state license approvals. Okay. So basically there are apprehensions that for exchange of something, there are high chances that these things have happened, that they have funded their elections and there was some kind of exchanging. Okay. So these things are speculations by the, you can say various public discourses are there. Okay. So we are discussing it because we have to scrutinize everything from the every perspective. Infrastructure, construction, mining, pharma companies donated, they are in the donor list. Okay. Now here you can see there are top 20 electoral bond purchaser which are given here: future gaming and hotel services, mega engineering infrastructure. So when you will be going through this, you will realize that there are few names you might never have heard. Okay. So among top 100 donors, many unknown entities are there. So okay, so that is also a cause of concern. Then when we are talking about the party wise amount received, highest amount has been received by the BJP, that is nearly 6,000 crores. Okay. Then second is Trinamool Congress, that is TMC, and then third is Indian National Congress. Okay. So these are the you can say distribution of the amount of electoral bonds. Okay. Now coming to the next part, which is related to your first veil of secrecy is lifted. Top 20 donors account for just under half of the 12,156 crore purchased through electoral bonds in 2019 to 24. So basically, you know that this scheme was introduced in 2018, and from April 1st these bonds has come in the market. Okay. So now this scheme was introduced in 2018. This was struck down by the Supreme Court, and then there are certain entities which were as a part of donor list, that is Vedanta, Bharti Airtel, AV Birla Group, and then there is this SL Mining Limited, Bajaj Auto. All these names are familiar, but when we are talking about the other list, there are high chances you might not know the names. Okay. So out of 12,000 this amount, 6,000 has gone to BJP, nearly, that is 50% you can say, or 47% around. Okay. So that is one thing. Second is basically Trinamool Congress, and third is Congress. Okay. Now what is missing? So here unique bond number is basically missing here. Unique bond number means here that which bond has gone to which party. Okay. So that is mentioned on the unique bond number. So here you can see that which donor has given what money to which party. Okay. Now if that particular number is made public, you will know that which donor has supported which party. That will be you can say against the privacy of that particular donor, and on the basis of which this particular scheme was to actually safeguard the privacy of the donor. But if this unique bond number is made public, that privacy would be gone. Okay. Which would have revealed who donated how much to the political parties. Okay. Now there are various donors, or when we are talking about the top 20 donors, operate in sectors where resources are scarce and are controlled by the government or require licenses and clearance from the various government agencies like mining, metals, energy, telecom, drugs, etc. So basically there are apprehensions, there might be a chances that you can see that since there is a requirement of licensing, so there might have been some kind of nexus or exchange. Okay. The Election Commission data also provided details of the electoral bond redeemed by the political parties. Okay. Bharatiya Janata Party, which we have discussed, 6,000, and then when we are talking about Trinamool Congress, that is nearly 1,600 crores, and when we are talking about Congress, that is nearly 1,400 crores. Okay. That data is not important here. The electoral bond scheme, notified in January 2018, allowed individuals and the companies to make donations to political parties. Okay. It is a bearer instrument. Okay. So what happens is that you will go to the bank, you will purchase the bond, you will in the name of that particular party, and that particular party can encash it. Okay. To provide anonymity to the holder, and was hence challenged in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said that it is unconstitutional, and they have directed SBI to furnish the data. So this is about this particular data, and I would say that you don't have to remember anything out of it. It is just an development which I wanted to discuss, which I did. Other than that, you must keep a tap on the electoral bond scheme. Okay, there are chances that they might talk about the challenges in the scheme. They might ask about why this scheme was held unconstitutional. Okay. Now moving further, Paytm gets NPCI nod to become third party application provider. In this article, we'll be talking about one thing, that is Paytm payment banks. So you must have heard about this Paytm payment banks. So earlier this bank was working as a full-time banking activity. Okay, so they used to take deposits, they used to provide other services which banks provide, but they have not complied with the RBI's guidelines. RBI had asked for certain things again and again. Okay, they have not complied with that, and because of which RBI has cancelled their services. They have said that these bank cannot provide services anymore. Okay, and because of which this bank is the provider of UPI services as well. Now you know that Paytm has some kind of penetration in the market, and because of which these UPI services would affect many people. Okay, that is why Paytm has decided to go for the TPAP, that is third party application provider, or you can say a third party service providers. Okay, so TPAP allows them to ally with different banks. Okay, so when we are talking about this Paytm UPI, earlier it was in sync with the bank, that is Paytm payment bank, but now they will have in the sync of nearly 4 banks. Okay, and these 4 banks will act as a, you can say, service provider, wherein Paytm UPI will continue to operate and Paytm will have an account in these banks, and on the basis of which these payments will be done. Okay, so ultimately the crux is that this third party application provider is an entity that provides UPI compliant application to end user customers to facilitate UPI based payment transactions. Okay, so in that regard you can have mobile wallets, merchant application and other platforms that utilizes the UPI transactions. So basically with this TPAP application, or you can say Paytm can go for the UPI transactions now. Okay, and but still when we are talking about the banking activity or the payment, that is still not authorized by the RBI. Okay, so who will authorize this TPAP operations? So NPCI. We have National Payment Corporation of India. Okay, that is the body which takes care of the digital transactions in India, digital payments, digital transactions. So that is the authority to decide, and in case of TPAP also they will provide the nod, and they have given nod to the Paytm bank. Now this particular thing becomes important to you, that what is TPAP, what is third party application provider, and what is NPCI, and how NPCI take care of all the digital transaction in India, and who authorized this TPAP, that is NPCI. Okay, so now this is about this article. Moving further, ex-bureaucrat Sukhbir Sandhu and Gyanesh Kumar, new ECs. Okay, so recently we have talked about that we have Chief Election Commissioner, that is Mr. Rajiv Kumar. Okay, and the other post of the 2 ECs were vacant as of now, and now they have been fulfilled by the appointment of these 2 people, that is Sukhbir Sandhu and Gyanesh Kumar. These were ex-bureaucrats. My objective here is to tell you that what is the process of the election, appointment of the election commissioner. So we have this committee. Okay, in that committee we will have PM, then we will have leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, and any union minister appointed by PM. Okay, so these 3 people will be in the appointing committee, and they will recommend the name to the president, and president will appoint that person as the EC. Okay, before that what used to happen is that we did not have any particular law about it. So central government, or it was an executive action where government used to appoint the, or you can say used to recommend the name to the president used to appoint them. Then this case went to the Supreme Court, wherein Supreme Court said that there will be a select committee, and in that committee, in place of union minister there used to be CGI. Okay, and this committee was to be there until parliament makes a law in that matter. Okay, so parliament has come up with the law, and in that law they have provided for a union minister, and they have replaced the CGI as per the Supreme Court's judgment. In the Supreme Court judgment, it was CGI who was in the select committee. Okay, so now that is the case. PM, leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, plus a union minister nominated by the Prime Minister. These people form a select committee, and they will recommend the name to the president, and president will appoint the ECs. Okay, so that is what it is. Now moving further, next article is related to your SpaceX Starship. Okay, there are chances that there are times when this UPSC can ask you a particular kind of let's say space mission, and they can ask you who has launched it. So basically SpaceX, you know that it is a company by Elon Musk, and they have launched their Starship. Okay, and it was a testing flight. They are trying to send the crewed mission to moon, and in that regard this test was quite important for them. The test was successful, but then they wanted to re-enter the vehicle in the atmosphere, but at that point of time they lost the communication, and that vehicle was destroyed. Okay, so that is about this particular thing. Remember that Starship. Okay, it belongs to SpaceX. Okay, with that I would like to tell you article for your own read that is related to the same topic, because most of the things in today's newspaper are related to one nation one elections only. So changes suggested in the constitution, how they will ensure simultaneous elections, this we have already discussed, but if you want to give it a read, I would like you to. Okay, so that is all. We'll take a practice question for you. Which article of the constitution deals with the establishment and the composition of the election commission in India? So article 324, article 335, article 343 and article 350. So you have to attempt this question and answer in the comment box. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel. With that, I would like to take your leave. Thank you.